Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, uh, yeah. Yeah, it's your boy E-Man. Falcons Fandemic, we on that plan. All the hype in the city, let me break it down. Atlanta Falcons, wear the crown. Cruising down Peachtree in my Falcons gear. Pockets on the speakers, E-Man's here. Covering the news, all the buzz on the block. Fandemic family, yeah, we can't be stopped, yeah.
Welcome back, Falcon family, Falcon fans, Fandemic family. Welcome to another Atlanta Falcons Fandemic episode. I was planning on doing this episode like maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, but things got real hectic for some reason. I don't know how about you guys, but I am so glad that it's Friday. I hope you guys are having a good day so far, whatever day you're watching this. But this video is long overdue, and I had all kind of energy to go ahead and to do the video. Just things just got in the way, right? But you know, life happens. But anyway, guys, let's be real about this Bills game, right? Nobody saw saw that coming. I knew we were going to win. I knew we were going to win. You guys saw all the videos I did leading up to that game. I predicted us to win, but I did not know we were going to look that good. I did not. I actually predicted that we were going to win. It was going to come down to finally a field goal for us to win. But I did not think we were going to look that good. And truth be told, that game wasn't as close as it was. But not the media. Some of our fans didn't see it coming, and definitely not the Buffalo Bills. Right? And it reminded me of the scene and before I do that, shout out to Jeff Albrecht, right? That made that game every bit of exciting with this defense as we did expected. Shout out not just Jeff Albrecht, but to the coaching staff for finally putting together a plan, seeing it through, and executing it. Finally, it seemed like everybody was on the same page. There was even some spacing in between Coach Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson. Raheem Morris wasn't all up under Zach Robinson while he was calling plays. So does that mean that Zach Robinson finally got it? It remains to be seen, but we will find out next week as we go face the San Francisco 49ers, another tough NFC opponent that the road may travel through once again into the playoffs. But forget everything you thought you knew about the Falcons or whatever you thought you knew about the Bills. That game defied all logic. It shattered expectations and delivered a result no one saw coming. But get ready to relive the strategic masterclass and the pure grit that led Atlanta to an utterly unbelievable victory, leaving Buffalo completely stunned. The Bills walked onto that field expecting a comfortable win. But what unfolded next was a gridiron mystery that baffled commentators and the fans on both sides. I was watching a lot of the Bills' responses and reaction to that game, and they are bewildered. They are confused. They can't explain what happened. I mean, nobody could agree on one thing that went wrong for Buffalo. Everybody had their own opinion as to what went wrong. But how did the Atlanta Falcons manage to pull off the impossible? We're diving deep into the key moments and the tactical brilliance that silenced Buffalo and created an unforgettable upset. But the media will have you to believe that there are some serious systemic issues as to why the Bills lost to the Falcons. I mean, why aren't the Falcons getting their due respect? I mean, even New England got respect for beating Buffalo. But when it came to the Falcons, something had to be wrong with Buffalo. And not that Falcons just put up a doggone good game and brought it to Buffalo. You know, everybody wants to point at the injuries, right? But guess what? We are in worse shape with injuries as Buffalo. Most of Buffalo injuries are people who are filling death positions. Most of our injuries are key people, right? Whether they are starters or depth, right? So yes, Buffalo did have one major guy that was out, Matt Milano, who is basically the Bills' defense, right? He's what made Buffalo go around. But at the same time, guess what? We had people missing too as well. So it's not just excuse me, it wasn't just one reason why Atlanta beat Buffalo. We strategically beat Buffalo on both sides of the ball. Buffalo is not hurt on offense, as someone may think. Buffalo is that team that averages 30 points a game, even with the current roster that they have. 30 points a game places a W in the win column against most of the teams in the NFL, if not all of them. You average 30 points a game on your offense, there's nothing wrong with your offense. Now, their run game may not be the same. I'm sorry, but their passing game may not be the same without Stephon Diggs. But either way, they are still averaging 30 points a game. So where is the mystery? Jeff Albrecht came in with a game plan. And it wasn't like he's new to facing Buffalo. Jeff Albrecht faces Buffalo on a consistent basis when he was with the Jets and, you know, the other teams he was with. But he knows Buffalo. And that's what it's all about. Going in, reviewing tapes, establishing a game plan, go to practice, act those game plans out. Come Sunday or Monday Night Football, you execute. And that's exactly what Jeff Albrecht had our guys geared up to do. But the Falcons weren't supposed to win against the Bills. But they managed to deliver a stunning 24-14 victory for the stage. I mean, this has to be one of the great nights of all Monday Night Football. You're talking about against a perennial AFC juggernaut and Super Bowl contender Buffalo Bills with the MVP Josh Allen, with a team, like I just said, that averages 30 points a game. 30 points a game defeats us, defeats the Falcons, especially if we don't score 30, if we don't come in and contend to score 30 points. But it also defeats just about every other team in the league. So how did the heavy underdogs, the Falcons, not just win, but dominate these Super Bowl contenders? How did they turn what was meant to be a blowout into a massive upset? We're going to break it down. We're going to look at the stats and show you exactly how the Falcons defense completely flustered one of the league's best quarterback and how their offense ran a brilliant game plan to pull off the upset of the week. Now, you leave it to the media. Like I said, they strategically saying that there's something wrong with Buffalo, as opposed to saying, hey, that was a brilliant game by Atlanta. They played lights out. They plain old had Josh Allen's number. But they erred and wanted to say that something is wrong with, and they're still saying it, even to today, they're still saying that there was something wrong with Buffalo. What is wrong in Buffalo? As opposed to saying Atlanta has finally found their stride. The win is powered by our explosive run game and a suffocating defense. We talked about it all week, from content creators to some of the media analysts and a lot of our fans. We've talked about it all week. We established that run game and the defense steps up, we win. This wasn't a nail biter. It was a comprehensive execution of a game plan that exposed every one of Buffalo's weaknesses and placed the Falcons into national conversation. or at least it should have. The Falcons sent a clear and concise message to the rest of the NFL. The Falcons are here. We have arrived. Look out. But to really get how big of an upset this was, you need the context. The Buffalo Bills rolled into this game at 4-1, looking like an absolute juggernaut. Josh Allen playing like an MVP, and that offense felt unstoppable. Like I said, their offense averaged 30 points a game. On the other sideline, you have the Falcons, who are at 2-2, a team with a ton of talent, but also one that has plenty of inconsistency. Now, whether you're talking to content creators, whether you're talking to media analysts, fans, that is the one thing that we can get continually talk about Atlanta, and that's the lack of consistency. The biggest question for Atlanta was simple. The biggest question for Atlanta was simple, but it was massive. How on earth do you stop Josh Allen? We know everything's in Buffalo involves Josh Allen. You stop Josh Allen, you stop Buffalo. This is a guy who can beat you with his arm, beat you with his legs, and just his sure willpower. Conventional wisdom said that the Falcons defense, even though it has improved, just didn't have the power to hang with Josh Allen. And what about the other side of the ball? Could the Falcons offense led by a veteran, not veteran, I often call Kirk Cousins' name, led by rookie Michael Penix Jr., can he stay composed enough and tough enough and stand up against the Bills defense on the road? Or not on the road, but in the lights. Could he get the run game going against a defensive line built to shut it down? Now, on paper, this was a total mismatch. The betting odds said that the experts predicted it, and most fans were expecting an easy Bills win. The problem for Atlanta wasn't just one guy or one part of the game. It was the entire machine of the Buffalo Bills. But games aren't won on paper. Like I said, everybody had this as a L as a prediction coming into the season. I said we beat Buffalo. We stand up. We beat Buffalo. But the first half humiliation, that was a heavyweight for Buffalo. From the opening kickoff, Atlanta didn't just play. They belonged. They played like they were the better team. The best way to slow down a high-power offense is to make them play from behind. And the Falcons came out swinging with an aggressive and confident game plan. So shout out to the coaches once again. And the star of that evening opening drive was Drake London. People have been questioning his consistency, but on Monday night, it was simply another level. Michael Penix was looking his way from the jump, and London delivered big time. Their chemistry was obvious straight from the jump, but one play in the first quarter really set the tone. On a deep shot downfield, London burned the Bills secondary for a huge touchdown. It was a perfect throw and a perfect route showing that Penix and his offense wasn't scared of the primetime lights or Josh Allen. London was practically unguardable all night, finishing with a monster game that included the critical touchdown by halftime. Well, the almost touchdown by halftime. But the Bills secondary had no answers and looked completely overwhelmed. You can actually see them give up because they were beat. They knew it. They were probably praying for that halftime so they could get a break. The Falcons nearly scored again right before the half. Like I said, with London making a spectacular diving attempt at the pylon that was ruled short as time ran out. They didn't get the points, but the message was crystal clear. Atlanta was there. Atlanta's offense was there to dominate. The fast start from us forced the Bills to play catch up the entire game, messing with their game plan and adding a level of pressure they never expected to be under. One other major factor, the Bijan Robinson show. If Drake London was the spark, running back Bijan Robinson was the absolute inferno. This wasn't just a good game for Robinson. It was a career performance that put on all of his generational talent on display. Guys, I'm going to tell you something about Bijan. Bijan is next level. And if you haven't realized that yet, you don't know football. He is next level. He is without question the most dominant player in the NFL, bar none, not even close. The Falcons wanted to establish the run, and Robinson was the engine behind it. He finished the game with an eye-popping 170 yards rushing on just 19 carries. But even that incredible number doesn't tell the whole story. He was breaking tackles, making defenders look silly in the open field, and grinding out the tough yards that just wore down the Buffalo defense. And then came the play that blew the game wide open. In the first half, Robinson took the handoff, found a small crease, and just exploded. One cut, two cut, three cuts, and he was gone. 81 yards for a touchdown. It was a stunning display of vision, speed, and power. It was the longest rushing touchdown in the entire NFL this season. That one run gave the Falcons a 21-7 lead and completely silenced the stadium. Well, shall I say it silenced the Bills, because us Falcon fans were on our feet. We were ready for more. As the scene says and the line says in Remember the Titans, we want some more, we want some more, we want some more, and they gave it to us. But it wasn't just that run. Bijan was a major threat in the passing game too, and his ability to control the clock and keep Josh Allen on the sideline was just as important as the points he scored. This was his fifth straight game with over 100 total yards from scrimmage, tying the franchise record. And I don't think he's done. I think he's a lot more in the tank. When your running back is making history, you know you've got something going. You know you have something special. And we talked about this in the two videos prior to this one. The key to Atlanta for winning this game: get the pass rush on Kirk Cousins, get the pass rush on Josh Allen, establish the run, control the tempo of the game, control the clock. Well, you got to score some points at the same time too. But if you do all of that, you'll score. You got to execute. But the Bijan run, I mean the show, the Bijan blitz, he was the focal point of our run game. Obviously, I actually predicted that Tyler Algier was going to have a better game. I thought he did, because he's a bruising runner, and Buffalo was hurt up front. Or shall I say they're giving up, 5 yards a carry. They're averaging giving up 146 yards in rushing yards. But 170 yards of rushing for Bijan, including the play that broke the Bills' spirit, that electrifying 81-yard touchdown. Like I said, the Bills look confused and undisciplined. And the more we ran at them, you could see the Bills players gasping for air. Excellent job by Zach Robinson. Excellent play calling. Spread the ball around. Get those players that are not used to being on the field, getting them to running around, trying to make decisions on what's the best move for them. But running back Bijan was the undeniable engine for the Falcons, putting on a dazzling performance. His stats went 22 rushing attempts, 170 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 receptions for 35 yards, with a total of 205 yards from scrimmage. That's the second most by any NFL player this season, extending his streak of 100 yards to five games. Robinson has 400 plus yards rushing and 300 yards receiving. That puts him in elite class, guys. Elite class like Thurman Thomas, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, Bo Jackson. That's elite. And we're just 6 games in, right? We're 6 games, right? Yeah, 6 games in. But in a surprise, Falcons wide receiver, slot option, and veteran kicker Ray McLeod, he was normally a starter. He was a healthy scratch and was on the sideline in street clothes. What led to that decision? Who knows? But the move came despite another starter, Darnell Mooney, who was out with a hamstring, getting ruled out on Saturday. So this leaves wide receiver Drake London, who was equally devastating, who caught 10 passes for 150 yards and a touchdown in the first half alone. Rookie quarterback Michael Penix was sharp, but London was simply unstoppable against a struggling Bills secondary. When Londonson and Robinson are playing at an elite level, the offense is unguardable. London's dominant 158-yard game proved that he can carry the passing attack against top-tier competition. And like I just said, we did all of this without Darnell Mooney, our number 2 receiver. We also did it without our number 3 receiver, Ray McLeod. But the Bills' defense gave up 335 total yards just in the first half, and they surrendered in the first half. You saw it, but that's the most yards that they've surrendered since 2001. Was when Mooney is healthy and playing to his potential, he provides that deep threat that can take the top off a defense. Just imagine if he was on the field. Drake London probably would have had 200 yards of receiving, because Mooney would have drew some of that attention away from him. But like I said, the offense looked unstoppable, even without Mooney. Now, although we pulled off a major upset with the present receiving core, the Buffalo game did expose the true depth at receiving. They exposed our true depth. There is an issue. Even with all the receivers that we have on the roster, there is an issue. With London and Robinson dominating the targets, they both combined for 238 yards from scrimmage. The offense didn't need a reliable third option. Not at that game. However, the reliance is unsustainable for a full playoff run. We have to have that third option if we expect to contend to the playoffs. So with the trade deadline approaching, the big question remains, do the Falcons still need to upgrade that wide receiver? They don't need a new number 1, but the reoccurring injury to Mooney and the healthy scratch of Ray McLeod underscore a serious depth problem. General Manager Terry Fontenot should be monitoring the trade market for a low-cost, reliable veteran who can serve as a dependable wide receiver insurance policy. But the short-term focus might be on getting Mooney healthy before panicking, or should be. That should be our motivation, is to get Mooney back. We have a total of about 11 guys that we can have as receivers on the roster, counting the practice squad. But my final thought is for the Falcons to elevate wide receiver Nick Nash or Chris Blair from the practice squad. Both of these receivers bring a different aspect to the game in a different way. And let's not forget, we still have Jamal Agnew, who also has NFL game time experience. My opinion, give Mooney time to heal. The best trade acquisition for the Falcons would be to get him healthy and productive, get him back into the lineup, and then evaluate where we are with him on the field. If he returns to form within the next couple of weeks, the need for an expensive outside addition, that goes away. We won't have to look anymore. However, his recurring hamstring issues this year are a major concern. His absence is noticeable, forcing the team to pivot from our original game plan. Because I'm pretty sure we didn't want to use Robinson continually in the passing game. But it works, right? It worked the previous game. It worked this game. So as they say, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Sometimes it doesn't apply to everything. But another option for us as a receiver is to focus on development. The time is now to elevate and test the next man up. Casey Washington, Cordero Hodge, David Seals, and I think there's a couple more. Evaluate them in smaller doses to ensure that there's a reliable third or even a fourth option if an injury should happen again. So yes, stick to the roster. If we choose to do that, stick to the roster, but prepare a plan in case of an emergency, hence an injury. Now, it's tough to say what was more impressive in this game, right? You can pick any play. You can pick any series of events about what play was the most impressive. But what do you guys think was the real key to this offensive masterclass? Was it London's dominance through the air or Robinson's historic day on the ground? Drop your thoughts in the comment. Tell me which one you think had which one was more impressive. I myself think they were equally impressive. Robinson just he just does not cease to amaze me. What he does on the ground, guys, is I just keep saying it. He's next level, right? But the face of frustration, the face you love to see on opponents, Josh Allen in the second quarter. I don't know if a lot of you saw it, but they walked into a brick wall when they came into Atlanta. They did. We're showing you the exact plays and schemes Atlanta used to force 4 sacks and 2 game-changing interceptions in a defensive performance for the ages. For Buffalo, the low point for them when they landed in Atlanta. The moment that summarized the humiliating nature of defeat came late in the second quarter, with the Falcons up 21-7 and their defense applying relentless pressure. Josh Allen looked utterly demoralized. The camera it panned over to his face, and you saw all of the energy gone out of Josh Allen. Josh Allen is normally a composed guy on the field, but when that camera showed his face, he showed a defeated man. But after a massive 15-yard sack by the swarming Falcons front and forced a punt, the MVP's subsequent drive ended in disaster. Under duress, Allen threw an ugly interception right over the middle to Falcons cornerback D. Alford. Was that D. Alford? I think that was D. Alford. But the look on Allen's face, like I said, the camera zoomed in on the sideline and they said it all. Eyes wide, jaws clenched, shoulders slumped. All the signs of a defeated man, a defeated player, defeated quarterback. It was the face of a man who realized his team was being thoroughly dominated in every facet of the game, unable to compensate for his own team's mounting penalties and injuries. The Bills went into halftime trailing by 2 touchdowns, their star quarterback visibly broken by the constant pressure and the Falcons' overwhelming momentum. But that wasn't where I was concerned. I was concerned about coming out at halftime because, as we know, the Buffalo Bills are a 4-quarter team. They play all 4 quarters. It just so happened that this game here, all 4 quarters were bad. Now, they kind of show a little bit of light, though, coming out at halftime. But, guys, that's before we start talking about what Josh Allen did coming out, let's talk about more about our defense and what we did. The defensive clampdown. But also, shout out to Jeff Albrecht and our defense. Once again, we are now the #1 rated defense in the NFL. Of course, we were #1 coming in, but we distanced ourselves after this game here. The #1 defense in the NFL. Shout out to Zach Robinson in the offense. We are now the number 2 offense in the NFL. And it gets even better, guys. Our offensive line are now being considered elite, top 5 in the NFL. With all the issues that we got going on the offensive front, we are considered to be an elite offensive line in the NFL. Yet small, but we are great. But now let's talk about the unsung heroes of this win. This Atlanta defense. While the offense was putting up points, the defense was running in a brilliant scheme to shut down Josh Allen. Jeff Albrecht showed all kind of blitzes, and they didn't just contain him. They pressured him, confused him, and ultimately forced him into the game-changing mistakes. Let's remind me of the scene from going back to Remember the Titans. A lot of us should know this movie, Remember the Titans. Shout out to Denzel Washington. But it reminds me of that scene where Coach Yokes gave that I think it was a playoff speech when he was telling his players that they're going to be blitzing all night. You all remember how it goes? I'm going to try to relive this thing, right? But I'm going to apply us in that, right? It goes, all right, now, picture the scene. Jeff Albrecht on the sideline. He's talking to the defense. We got the ball back on the interception. Jeff Albrecht got the guys in the huddle talking to him. And he says, all right now, I don't want them to gain another yard. You blitz all night. If they cross the line of scrimmage, I'm going to take every last one of you out. You make sure they remember forever the night they played the Falcons on Monday Night Football. Leave no doubt. It went something like that. Y'all saw the movie, man. We did just that. Right? We left no doubt that the Falcons are here. The Falcons defense is here. The Falcons offense is here. Even the special teams stood up and played. Couple missed tackles, but guess what? You're not going to be perfect every game. But it was an improvement over the last game. So how did they do it? With a mix of a relentless pressure, smart, disciplined coverage. The defensive line lived in the backfield all night. Ruko Rohoro, David Onyemata, Zach Harrison, just, good gracious, guys. Zach Harrison surprised me. Well, yeah, I'm going to say surprised me because I hadn't really been watching Zach Harris, right? I was looking for the other players like Ruko Rohoro, David Onyemata, Ebiketie, Brandon Dorlus. I was looking for those guys to make plays. But Zach Harrison was all over the place. But they all played like monsters possessed. Right? They clogged up the middle. They consistently collapsed the pocket, forced Allen to move. And we talked about this. We get Allen, we get him to move it, not in a way for him to make plays, but for him to be under duress and running. Allen makes mistakes. And all that pressure led to some of the very uncharacteristic throws from a quarterback who is usually so careful with the ball. But he threw 2 interceptions. One was that sealed the game. Caden Ellis patrolled sideline to sideline like he was a junkyard dog. The Bills couldn't do anything outside or inside with us. The secondary deserves a ton of credit. They played very tight coverage and tackled incredibly well all night. D. Alford missed a tackle. Michael Hughes missed a tackle. But overall, the secondary gets an A. They came up with a huge interception, and the game was officially over when they picked off a final desperate pass from Allen in the last minute of play. Maybe the most telling stat of the night was Atlanta's dominance on key downs. The Falcons defense forced the Bills into 4 different 3-and-outs, double their previous high for a whole game this season. They just shut the door on the Buffalo's drive before they could even get going. One of the biggest moments came on a critical 4th down try where the pass rush swarmed Allen, forcing a panic and incomplete pass that killed the drive and any hope of a comeback. Holding that explosive offense to just 287 yards total was a masterful performance by our defense. Once again, shout out to Jeff Albrecht and the defense. But the defense went all in with the clampdown on Josh Allen and pressuring him 47% of the snaps. That is crazy. We actually held the reigning MVP to under 200 yards of offense, while the Bills scored. And you talking about, I'm like, well, I'm going to keep saying this. You talk about an offense that averages 30 points a game, and we held them under 200 yards. But while the Bills scored a touchdown to open the 3rd quarter, the Falcons defense quickly slammed the door shut, securing the victory with a punishing performance. Atlanta linebacker D'Angelo Malone, who, by the way, received the game ball, intercepted Allen's last throw with 41 seconds remaining. I forgot. B. John Robinson got the other game ball. He got a game ball as well, understandably so. But we could have very well have passed out game balls across this team, right? Elijah Wilkinson, he could have got one. The offensive line could have gotten one. Michael Penix could have gotten one. Drake London. We could have passed them out. Caden Ellis, Zach Harrison, Ruko Rohra. We could have been passing them out. Allen completed 15 of 26 passes for 180 yards with 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. And I think that's given him like 4 interceptions in the last 3 games. He had only 1 pick in the previous 12 games, including the playoffs. And now today he has 4. 2 he threw against us. So the turnover margin, we won. Atlanta's defense won the turnover battle +2 for the 2 interceptions to 0 Falcons giveaways. Give it that. No fumble, no interception. But the icing on the cake, the game was finally iced when Allen was intercepted for a 2nd time on the Bills' final possession, perfectly showcasing how sloppy, undisciplined the Buffalo Bills were. And it all was brought on by our pressurizing Atlanta Falcons defense. Even with Atlanta dominating, a team as good as the Bills is never going to go down early. Like I said, they came back out of the locker room with a fight. I mean, the crowd got loud because there was a sea of blue jerseys in there. They got loud. But the Falcons didn't flinch. There was no panic. They stayed composed. Instead, they went back to work, business as usual. Picked up where they left off. But the offense, led by Cool Hand Luke himself, Michael Penix Jr., took the field, put together the most important drive of the night. Penix showed his experience leading a methodical 14-play drive that ate up more than 5 minutes of the clock. He made smart decisions, took what the defense gave him, and relied on his superstar running back to move the chains. And that's what we talked about in the last video, right? That exact moment. Take what the defense give you. Control the clock and score points. But the drive didn't end with a touchdown. that drive didn't end with a touchdown, but it did something that just as crucial. It ended with a 33-yard field goal to stretch the lead to 2 scores, and it took a ton of time off the clock. It was a masterclass in how to manage a game and showed the maturity this team has. I had said coming in that Penix would need to have the game of his life against the Bills for us to win against the Bills. That stage that he ended up on in college when playing for Washington on the national stage. I mean, that game to me is just as significant as this game against the Bills on Monday Night Football in prime time when it comes to the NFL level. But I still think it's a bigger game for Michael Penix. Somewhere out there, there's a bigger game looming, waiting for him to perform. Because even though he played almost mistake-free ball, almost, I think it's still more in the tank. Because we still haven't really like tested him downfield. We didn't have Darnell Mooney. I think if we had Darnell Mooney, he would have tested several times. But we're going to have to do that if we have to bring up Nick Nash or Chris Blair. Both of those guys can get it downfield. Casey Washington can. I just don't know why the chemistry does not seemingly happen with them two. But at some point, it's going to have to pan out. Like I said, I think it's another game somewhere down the road that Michael Penix has more in the tank than he did in this game. But he played mistake-free ball, and that's all that counts. That drive, more than any big touchdown, proves this team knows how to close out a win. The interception on the next series was just the explanation point on a victory sealed by offensive poise and defensive grit. So in conclusion, guys, so how did the Falcons pull off the biggest upset of the week? It wasn't a fluke. It was total balanced excellence. It was a defensive masterclass that came in with the perfect game plan and rattled Josh Allen into making rare mistakes. And that's how you beat the Buffalo Bills. It was an offense that saw stars Bijan Robinson and Drake London deliver historic, career-defining performances. And it was all guided by a rookie quarterback, Michael Penix Jr., who played a flawless turnover-free game when the lights were the brightest. This win pushes the Falcons to 3-2, and it sends a loud and clear message to the NFC, a loud and clear message to the rest of the NFL. Atlanta is for real. For the Bills, who are now 4-2, it's a tough lesson that talent alone doesn't win the games in this league. This was more than just a regular season win for the Falcons. This was a statement and a clear, emphatic message to the entire National Football League. The final score, 24-14, truly undersells how decisively the Falcons manhandled the supposed Super Bowl contender, sending that message to the rest of the NFL, we're coming. This was a statement. This was a statement win. They had a good plan. These are the words of Allen, Josh Allen, after the game. This was a statement. This was a statement win. They had a good plan. Looks like they came off the bye week and got to the game plan and applied it to us quite a bit. Now, those are Josh Allen words. Falcon fans, I am sure you enjoyed this Falcon win because I'm for one, I did. This is exactly how I predicted that our Falcons would look or should look coming into the season. That incredible victory against the Bills brings us to the end of another episode of Atlanta Falcons Pandemic. Guys, thank you so much to all my loyal supporters, our followers, subscribers for tuning in for this video. Your passion, your comments, your energy are what makes this show the best place for Falcons coverage. Whether you're celebrating with us or still sweating out the second half, we appreciate every single one of you being part of the Atlanta Falcons Pandemic family. Until next time, guys. Oh, before I sign off, the next video is a doozy. We have 3 notable awards that have been placed, well, 4 now that's been placed on this team. So stay tuned for the next video. But as always, guys, like I said,
yeah, 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 it's your boy E-Man, Falcons Fandemic, we on that plan, all the hype in the city, let me break it down, Atlanta Falcons, wear the crown.